it was, oh, there's the boss, man.
Howdy, boys.
How you doing?
All right. Missing WrestleMania, so I'm not very happy about that.
Did you buy it?
No. We signed up for the free month preview on Anne Marie's credit card because I used my free month preview for the last WrestleMania. So the kids are in the other room watching Randy Orton versus Edge right now. And Gammon's all fired up because he's going to have to go to bed after this match, and John Cena hasn't been on yet. But, you know, that's where his priorities are.
You should dress your kids up as, like, famous 80s and 90s wrestlers and film it, like Roddy Piper.
You make it sound like that hasn't happened before.
I've never been there. I've never been there screaming from the side, ready to climb the turnbuckle, grab the people's elbow.
Liz's friend has her kid dressing up as Hacksaw Jim Duggan. It's freaking amazing on Facebook. That's
awesome.
Keeps me alive.
That's awesome. I did Roddy Piper for Halloween a few years ago.
What do you think with no fans? Are they doing a pretty good job with it?
It's kind of weird, you know, because everything is theater. You know, it's all supposed to be about the performance and the reaction, and it's weird. So I don't know. I'm not.
I'll give you. Can you? Are we recording yet or no?
Yes.
Okay.
We can edit out anything we don't want in here, though.
Can you edit out my next statement?
Yes. Right. So are we waiting on Losi, or are we just gonna get started?
I'm surprised he's late, but we can. Don't hit stop record. We did a podcast with an amazing guest, and we all forgot to hit record.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
that's too bad.
Actually, what we think happened was I changed my settings so that it automatically started recording meetings instead of normally I would hit record. Yeah. And so when we logged into the meeting, we think it was recording, and when I hit record, I stopped it.
Yeah.
So we are officially recording. I just texted Losi, said waiting on you. Have not seen any response from him yet.
Me?
No, from Losi.
He said 8:15. He wanted to go at 8:15. So
yeah.
Remember, he's the one with all the opinions on this MHSAA stuff. I mean,
there's really a good 90-day fiance on, so you could be tied up.
Yeah.
I've been going through James Bond movies.
I watched. Oh, what did I watch last night? It was a recent one. I don't even know. No.
I did Tomorrow Never Dies. So it's great. What an amazing movie.
It's an unbelievable franchise. I mean, they've done a hell of a job with it over the last, 60 years.
Here, I'll share this with you guys. If you can remember when I was fatter and had longer hair. That's our Halloween camping every year with my kids and all my nieces and nephews. And I was wearing my old combat boots as my wrestling boots and everything. I had it all done up. I'll see if I can find a different one.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So let's get started. We'll just start talking about what we want to talk about, and Losi can chime in when he gets here. So, quick disclaimer as far as the US Lacrosse Michigan chapter goes, we're not endorsing any companies. We're not endorsing any tournaments. We're talking to our friends. Some of them own lacrosse streaming stores. Some of them own tournaments. If anyone has anything to promote in the state of Michigan, send it my way. Just like we told Mike Emery, if he has his satellite cam from UNC, get it to us. We'll get the word out there. So we're not playing favorites. This isn't an endorsement. This isn't a sponsorship. But as the last time we talked, we still were discussing, would we have lacrosse this year? And now we know for sure we will not have high school lacrosse this year. I saw a tweet from the Lax Bash event guys that they were going to be having a tournament in July, and it would have a high school division and it would have a U19 division or something. So rather than tweeting at you, I asked Brian if he would want to hop on. Tell us your plans. Tell us your contingencies. If we're not live in July, what's your refund pot? Give us whatever you're dealing with.
So, yeah, we waited until the MHSAA, shut it down for the year. We wanted to be, conscious of that. I come from the high school game, and our motivation and our concern is there's a state, hell, there's a Midwest group of seniors that haven't played a game, never got their opportunity to play. And, well, it's not just about them. We want to give them an opportunity to do so. So the first thing we did is we opened up every event we have over the summer to 2020s. And we said, if you've got them, bring them, and we'll figure out whether they're going to play each other, whether they're going to, how it'll work. We'll deal with that later. But let's get these kids a chance to play. Once the season went down, we got together and we said, how do we make this happen for the high school guys? There's been a lot of talk about the high school guys and, should we have 3 divisions? Should we have 2 divisions? What should we be doing? So, we spent a lot of time up north over the years, all of us going to Cherry Bomb, which eventually, had its demise. A lot of that had to do with hotels and all that. So we said, hey, listen, let's get up there. Brian Maine, the coach from Petoskey, and I were talking. He has a connection over at the Boyne Highland Fields. We said, let's do something midweek. Doesn't interfere with club ball. This is about getting the kids to play. So, we put one up midweek, mid-July, July 14th through 16th, just to get these kids out on the field. We're hoping it's a high school event where we can do three divisions, which is the big talk in the MHSAA. We can do a AA, an A, and a B, and let everybody have some fun.
Yeah.
Brian, are you looking for this to be run by the high schools, high school coaches? I'm assuming that the MHSA is going to come up with some kind of rules that says, what is the high school rule? 6 days or something like that in the summer?
In the summer, you get 14 days to be with your team, including competition. And if the event is in Michigan, you can have teams from out of state. You can play teams from out of state. Travel rule does not apply.
So under the current rules, this is doable.
This is doable. Exactly. And the one thing we're going to be conscious of is if there's a club team that wants to play, we're going to put a club division together for them.
Gotcha.
Just to, again, keep it as clean as we can. The other thing we're going to attempt to do, and hopefully guys like Coach Coleman appreciate it. We have 3 meetings this week with live stream companies. We want to live stream the games to college coaches who, if we're going again in July, and let's all be honest, we have no idea. Their recruiting calendar is going to be packed. It's going to be nuts. So if we can get them while they're sitting on, in an airport or, maybe at lunch or something like that, we want to check out another event for these high school guys that had no opportunity for exposure this year. They can pull it up on a live stream, watch some stuff. We can always send them the film from there.
Brian, I'll take a room in the main lodge, please.
You got it. You got it. And then
I've actually been to those fields. Those are beautiful fields, very well kept, very professional. It is a great opportunity for kids to go up there. It's about 4 hours away.
4 hours from us, yeah. About 3 from the west side or so. It's an easy drive.
And I'm sure that area is going to be just itching for business, right?
Yeah.
At that time after all this stuff, especially during the week. So cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So Losi jumped on. We've got about 20 minutes to kind of chat about tournaments, the end of the season, the MHSAA, everything that's kind of come out since we last recorded. Losi, very nice that the helmets are now mounted and not just sitting on the table. I really like that. It's a nice touch.
That addition. I'm glad you noticed that. It's very important that people notice things.
I've got to do something back here. I'll think of something. The picture of Ben Harper and the Jack Daniels barrel head, I think is taking up too much space. I need to adjust something. But the one that I wanted to really kind of jump into with you guys is Losi, you were pretty fired up on Twitter. You've been, talking to a lot of people about the end of the season. You don't have 280 character limit here, but watch your language. Again, this is not the official statement of US Lacrosse Michigan. This is John editorializing, but I just wanted to give you a minute to kind of blow off some steam.
Yeah, and I've calmed down. And I've only got 20 minutes too. So Chris talked to me like right then and there. And I'm glad I wasn't on camera. Maybe I should have been on camera for that. That probably would have got more clicks. You know, I said it on Twitter a bunch of times. It really, a lot of it had to do with the fact of you know, I mean, we've got 67 days or something until, you know, the state finals are supposed to take place. You know, and they had talked about going to the end of June, which puts another 20. I mean, we're like 80 days until the end of June to do something. I look at the state of Ohio. Ohio has got, and I've spoken to coaches in Ohio. I was on a rampage on Friday. I got to tell you. I mean, I was just, it was like drunk dialing, but not drunk.
I got a couple phone calls from people that actually said, dude, Losi, what's going on?
Well, because I wanted to know what was going on, like in Ohio, and I wanted to know what was going on in Illinois. I mean, I know Indiana had canceled, you know, 2 days earlier, and Ohio has multiple plans that are on paper, set, ready to go, depending on the date of when things happen, what happens, how it's going to look, what it's going to do. They've been, you know, and they just got sanctioned last year, and so the thought process was, all right, you know, now that we're sanctioned, can we still have the, you know, the interaction and everyone open, and the coaches and the board, and I mean, they've got plans set up. I mean, they got multiple contingency plans. Everyone's been transparent in Ohio, and everyone's kind of on the same page. And Illinois has been kind of the same way, not as detailed as Ohio, but there's just been a lot of interaction between the coaches and the governing board, right? And this one, there's no, and you know, I mean, you guys could probably speak to this more. Kaminskas could probably speak to this more, but it doesn't appear that the MHSAA consulted the coaches. I don't know. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But that there was nothing set, right?
Well, let me hop in and ask.
Yeah.
Brian, I assume you've been in communication with Jeff Cosin, the athletic director up here in Clarkston. Have you been in any contact with the OAA or your principals, or what kind of communication, or have they been giving you any direction on this?
Jeff and I have been in constant contact. We've talked throughout this entire thing, but you know, that's Jeff's way. I'll knock all the ADs I've worked for before him. None of them would have been in any sort of contact. But John, you can't be surprised. I mean, this is the MHSA.
No.
I've sat on those seating committees, and there's this, and I'll call them nameless, faceless group of you know, the group of athletic directors and principals that make all the decisions, the executive committee. But let's be honest, you can't be surprised at the process. The outcome aside, the process and the way it was handled. No.
Yeah.
Brian, who's on the executive committee?
No earthly idea. I'm sure it's published somewhere. There's 80 of them or something like that. And they're the ones that all these rules go in front of.
It's a company. I mean, it's a corporation. I mean, it's a business. So no, Brian, you know, I wasn't surprised. I was more probably angry at myself for being duped, that I thought that something really was there. I mean, because I posted on Twitter that, you know, the interview that Mark Ewell had 2 days before, where, you know, the quote was somewhere because I was ripping it off, you know, the other night. But yeah, you know, and of course, if schools don't reopen, that brings about another set of options that we have contingency plans in place, right? So, I mean, you know, for him to say that in those words specifically, plans are set, even if they don't go back to school, right? Well, they didn't go back to school. What were those plans? You know, I'd love for someone to come out and tell me exactly what that was. You know, what plans were in place, and what were they waiting for?
John, I have a feeling that has nothing to do with lacrosse. I think it more has to do with basketball and hockey, which I think they were trying to do those championships because that's where they make a lot of revenue, especially basketball. And I think the guy said that, and I think AAU basketball shut him right down. I mean, that's where I don't think it has anything to do with lacrosse. AAU basketball and travel hockey said, no way are we going to let the MHSAA take a piece out of our summertime.
What I'm looking at on my screen now is the MHSAA Representative Council. It looks like mostly athletic directors from all over. They've got Vic Michaels from the Archdiocese of Detroit, Ottawa Lake, Romulus, Summit Academy North, Maple City Glen Lake High School, Midland High School, Jay Alexander, who's the executive athletic director for the Detroit PSL, Novi High School principal. Some of these are at large. Some of these are appointed. They've got Upper Peninsula. They've got Lower Peninsula. They've got ADs and superintendents and everything else. So I guess the one thing that I would like to share is, okay, Edge and Christian are still, or Edge and Randy Orton are still going at it.
Always important.
You know, I have a very good group of friends who I'm on a group text with. We affectionately known as just the Misfits. And
Appropriate.
There's a couple people on there that are getting really political. And I finally kind of dropped the hammer on them in the group text today and said, guys, knock it off. There seems to be this, as I'm calling it, time machine that people are pretending exists, how they're going back in time and pretending that things did or didn't happen. You know, as recently as the middle of January, the WHO was coming out and saying China's research says no human-to-human interaction will transfer this disease. And that tweet is still up and it's still alive. You know, you can be, you know, it was a China virus, it was coronavirus, it was, you know, there's all this revisionist history of what has been going on. And the people that I respect, that I'm reading about the research that they're doing, are saying, we don't know what the model looks like. The model isn't complete yet. And everything that we predicted as scientists 10 days ago, a month ago, 2 months ago, we've gotten wrong because it's new and it's different. And so I do want to stand up for the Mark Ewells of the world and the Governor Whitmers of the world, where we don't know what's next. Err on the side of caution, play it safe. I really think that, you know, this thing where she said 70 more days of executive order or you know, disaster is more for the optics and the politics. But if it does come and the worm turns and we squish the curve, does this mean that it's being able to be brought back to life or not? I don't know, but I just don't want to scapegoat anybody because no one has experience in this.
There's no scapegoat, right? And so I am in no way implying that the safety of the kids and everybody involved isn't top of the list, right?
Yeah.
In no way, shape, or form. My you know, the 70 days is her extending the state of emergency order, which gives her almost unlimited power to do whatever she wants until the middle of June, which is completely ridiculous. And the legislature said, absolutely not. We got to vote on that. We'll give you probably till the end of the month. That's still to be seen. But that's really what, you know, if you read exactly what Ewell said, you know, he talked about that state of emergency. And that really was the key. Number one was no schools, right? Because she really didn't cancel school. All she did was eliminate the use of school buildings and everything's done related to the actual schools, right? That's first and foremost. Number two, Ewell said, and what the statement said was, because of this state of emergency and extending it 70 days into the middle of June, and we wouldn't be able to start until the middle of June, it didn't pass, right? She just asked for it. And so my point is that really one thing in that, and the reasoning of why they canceled the season was based on something that isn't even true, right? She's got her, that runs out next week. The 13th of April, her executive order on the power in the state of emergency runs out next week. So it's got to be extended to get to the end of the month. That's what allows her to put us on lockdown, right? So they're using something that didn't happen, it hasn't happened yet, as a reason why we're canceling the season.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I guess
I'm not passionate at all about it.
I know. And even I sat down last night, and Brian was part of a group panel that the MHS LCA put together, and they had, you know, Brian, Ron Hebert, Ken Brubaker, Rich Kimball, and Dwayne Hicks from Detroit Mercy on there. Greg
good.
Norman moderated it. You know, Dwayne.
I listened to it.
Dwayne really put it into perspective for me when he said, "Guys, it's life and death we're talking about right
He said you're going to be alive and you're going to get to play." Yeah.
So, and also I kind of had an email going with the board of Michigan chapter and said, we're going to send an email out to the 7,500 members and just say, guys, you know, here's some free resources from HS Lacrosse. There's some wall ball drills. There's some coaches education programs. Here's the link to some stuff that's normally behind the paywall that is going to be, you know, brought to the members. Here, use this. But I really go back to kind of what, you know, Chris Cullen had said when we were talking to Gordon, and what Dwayne had said last night is that, you know, lacrosse isn't over. Lacrosse hasn't been taken away from us.
Right.
This season, these games, those are gone. But there's not a reason why we can't be teammates. We can't be friends. We can't continue to mentor kids. We can't continue to work on our game. Tomorrow, I'm officially getting back on the keto diet. No more rating my kids for candy. No more sneaking pasta and chips. Because
Not the time. Not the time.
Yeah, you're going to struggle on that one, buddy.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. So I guess there was a couple
Let's go back
questions.
to Brian. So I don't know if you guys already covered this with Brian in terms of what you got out there proposed for July for the seniors, right? What's your feedback been so far from anybody? I know you just sent it out 2 days ago or whenever it was, but what's the feedback been?
The feedback, it's been better than I suspected, or that we thought it was going to be. You know, again, none of us know what's going to happen, right? But everybody, pretty much we've talked to us said, yeah, we definitely want in on this. We want, it's because I think the goal of what it is, which is let's get this group of kids an opportunity to play, and not just play, but, you know, Rice and a CC, a Lake Orion and a Clarkston, you know, a Rockford and a Forest Hills. I mean, let's go ahead and try and get some of those rivalries together and let them play because they didn't get that opportunity. And that's the focus. Reception's been good on that. We also took our 2 May events, and we and this will get announced later in the week. And we're going to combine them, and we're going to put them in Oxford at the end of July, and bring in high school for the exact same reason. You can't get a group together and go up north? Great, we'll have something for you down here. We just want the kids to have the opportunity.
Yeah. No, that's great. So really, we got the exclusive on that announcement. The end of July, you're pushing all those back, putting them together.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Cut down that clip, send it out with your thing, and we're all good.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
And you know, Brian, I guess I was kind of curious about that as well, because right or wrong, we have a lot of opinions in this game, and whether it's the travel teams, it's the the homegrown travel teams or the recruiting travel teams, stuff like that, and even the events. There's competition.
Yep.
Did you get any feedback from people saying, "Oh, look at this guy. You know, we don't even know if we're going to be playing." Like, has there been any negative feedback on that, or you been okay on that?
Yeah, there's been a little bit, and it wasn't unexpected. I mean, we know, we're moving, we're losing events, and that's part of it. But the other part is we know these kids need an opportunity to play. And there's ample opportunity for them, with other events if ours don't work out, if they don't like those dates. But yeah, and we're not trying to ruffle feathers. The guys who know us and the guys who have, been around us over the years as coaches and as friends and as it is to get these kids on the field if they have the opportunity. Because 90% of these kids in the state of Michigan aren't getting in cars and going to the East Coast. They aren't part of a travel group. They aren't, they don't have those or choose not to have those opportunities. So we're trying to bring it back to them.
Brian, I agree. I put together, just because I'm bored and I like training, whenever this lifts, I don't know, the day after it lifts, I put together 7 hours and then 4 hours at night of training opportunities at, Stenson Miller's place. Yeah. I don't know when I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but kids are going to want to get out there. And I'm doing only groups of 8, 9 because, you want to keep them, relatively distant at that point, keep the germs down, all that stuff. But yeah, I might get crap for it. I don't really care, because I know kids just want to get out there and throw the ball around, get a lot of touches, and get back at it.
Yeah, we have a responsibility to do that.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Yeah, I mean, that's what we do is we work with these guys, and when it's time, we have to be ready to go out and do that. And if we're not, then we're not doing our job as coaches and as mentors of the young men.
I think we got Marianne.
I think we have Marianne.
She walked into a hornet's nest.
She left.
That's why I'm wearing yellow.
Well, I did want to, kind of make a comment on that too, as we're kind of wrapping up the loss of the season. I feel really bad for all the high school and college seniors that, what they've worked so hard for is being taken from them. What they've worked, since in some cases, 2nd and 3rd grade together. I'm seeing these tweets come out from, I think it was Plymouth had 3 kids together, or Canton that have been playing together since 5th grade. And this was, their 3 best friends, and they play travel and they do all this stuff together.
And they're going to have a great team. Plymouth's going to have a great team. I mean, I was really interested to see what those guys were going to do this year. They had an awesome schedule. They called it the gauntlet that was set. And it was one of the best schedules I've seen within the state of Michigan, staying within the state of Michigan that I've seen.
So I wanted to share this because I know that you guys probably saw it if I put it on my social media. This is hard for me too, because this was my first year with my guys. This is my son Gannon and I at Boo Bash in the fall. And afterwards, you see all these kids with these big smiles on their faces. That day started in a 7-on-7. We had 7 kids, and I think 6 of them were in tears in that first game because it was snowy and it was cold and their hands were wet and they were intimidated by the other team and they didn't know what was going on and they all wanted to quit. And then by the end of it, they're all smiles. And so those 7 kids ended up being almost 30 kids we were going to have for this season. And here's them all at Cohen's UDM game against this is the Marquette game where they got to all go out there and be ball boys. I can go one by one with these stories about which kid was afraid and which kid was crying and which kid was sad, and they were all fired up for the season to start. Like, these kids we had 2 practices in a gym and it's gone. So I feel bad for the older guys, but I feel really bad for the little guys that got a new helmet from Santa for Christmas, got a new Stinson Meller stick. Because if you look at this picture, I think every one of these kids is carrying a Higgins stick. And I'm sad too, because I really was looking forward to coaching those guys. And that's why I think we need to focus on the positives that, as Brian said and Chris said, put together some training. We've got a bucket list here at home, that things we're going to do after, this gets lifted, and Anne-Marie and I go through it with the kids. And some of it's we want to go up north, and some of it's we want to go to this restaurant. My first one was I want to have a practice with my guys. I like, once this is lifted, I want to get all the kids up at the high school, and we're just going to shoot balls and laugh and do ground balls and giggle and have fun, because darn it, I feel bad for these kids too. So, all right.
I got one quick thing. We got 2 minutes, right? Hey, Brian, have you heard anything about the MHSA coming out with really what the new rules are going to be now? Because Yule was very poignant in one of his interviews where he said, we are in the off season, quote unquote. And so as I read that, I'm going, all right, does that mean that the off-season rules now apply and everything just like it was before, or are there going to be new ones coming out? You know anything?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. I haven't talked to my athletic director since the announcement, other than to say, hey, we're done.
Right.
My guess is, if he says we're in the off-season, at least I can tell you from my part of town, we're going to take him at his word. And yeah, if for some, grace of God, this gets lifted in 2 weeks, then we're off season. I'm going to play it like it's summer. I mean, let's roll. But and I know I'm done, but yeah, Chris, if I can, just on your point, I think it's important that any coach listening to this, and again, I think they all will anyways, or have to let these boys know that they're not defined by the 20 or 25 games that they would have played this year.
Right.
It's everything you just talked about. It's the laughing and the joking and the team meal and the relationship. That's what it's about. And in no way does a kid that didn't take a field this year, that doesn't matter, because that's not what we define our boys by. It has nothing to do with that. And I hope everybody's out there, and I'm sure they are, expressing that to them, because I think that's what's important.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Brian, we're done with you.
I'm out. You guys have a good time.
One of my friends, I love you, but beat it.
There. Good ending.
All right. How do I get out of here?
Just close the window and we'll move on.
Goodbye. Have a good night. Hi, Mary. Bye, Mary. Man, there we go.
Yeah.
And there.